Good morning, everyone. This is Don again, and it is time for episode 68 of Practical Reality. I'm going to be continuing on the same theme as in episode 67, covering more of the lies we tell ourselves. And I want you to think about how many of these lies you encounter as you go about your daily life, whether you see them in yourself or you see them in others. Now, just a quick recap of the lies I covered in episode 67. Number one was, I'll do it soon. Number two was, I'm fine. Number three was, when this happens, I'll be happy. And number four was, this is just who I am. So the first lie in episode 68 is sort of a continuation of the last lie in episode 67. The first lie I'm going to cover today is, I can change them. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you're lying to yourself, by telling yourself this is just who I am, you are opposing change within yourself. And if at the same time you tell yourself that you can change someone else, then you'd better be ready to change yourself in the process. So let's explore both of those lies a little more deeply. How many times have you heard it said that you can't change somebody? I'll bet it's hundreds. I've heard it spoken to me, and I've read it hundreds of times, and I still don't necessarily believe that it's true. I think you can change someone, but the approach you take is what's most important. Now, I'm going to speak purely from a masculine point of view, but this obviously applies to a woman as well. If I'm going into a relationship with a woman and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can love her if I can make her into this certain kind of woman that I see in her, that's automatically doomed to failure because your objective is ultimately manipulation, not love. If, however, I go into this relationship with a woman and I think that she has the potential to be a certain kind of woman that I would like to see her be, then that is a bit of a softer approach, and in my opinion, that has a greater chance for success. But it also entails the necessity to look at myself and see how I might change to suit her. That's a reciprocal process. And it doesn't even have to be approached that way with that sort necessarily, because that process can happen naturally. For anybody who's out there who's been in a relationship for a long time, stop and think for a second. What kind of person you were before you got into that relationship and what kind of person you are now? Would you say you're exactly the same person you were before you got into that relationship? Almost certainly not. You definitely have changed in some way, whether you want to realize it or not, or whether you even wanted to or not. And you did it for love, which is the greatest reason to change there is. So the nature of the lie is the key thing here. Do you believe you can change someone because you want to manipulate them into the person or to the image of the person that you see, that you think you can love? That's the most important question. Now, I actually had this happen to me. Maybe 12, 13 years ago, I was in love with a woman from Ecuador, and she was beautiful. I mean, really, really gorgeous. But she was not in love with me, ultimately. She was in love with the image that she had of the man that she thought she could make me into. And her love was always governed by how well I was living up to that image. And she did discuss this with me in terms of, this is what I want you to be. This is the man I want you to be. Did she ever actually talk to me about how she might change as well? No, it never happened that way. It was always only from her point of view. I had to do this and I had to do that and I had to stop doing this and so on and so forth. We actually gave it a go twice and both times it failed because she would not change her approach to letting it be a cooperative process of mutual evolution. She was fine the way she was and I was the one who had to change. So if you're telling yourself or lying to yourself and think you can change your partner without changing yourself, then you are engaging in a process of self-manipulation or self-delusion, and you will never succeed. Now, the second lie we're going to cover today is, I'm better than you. For whatever reason, there are many people out there who feel that they are superior to other people. I have never understood this, but it has been a theme throughout history. For instance, all racist viewpoints are based on the fact that my race is better than yours, or that I hold more value because I'm white and you're not, which is complete garbage. I don't know how many of you out there have read the book by Jared Diamond called Guns, Germs, and Steel. It was actually made into a 3-part series on PBS. When I was working with writing students, I would often give them this book to read or watch the videos on YouTube and then have them write an essay about it. It's a fact of history that the settling of the New World was done mainly for two reasons. There were settlers who were seeking a new life after being persecuted, and there were kings who were seeking greater riches. The soldiers who were sent by the king showed absolutely no regard for the indigenous people that they had encountered simply because they believed they were superior. They believed they had the right to conquer and subjugate these people. Imagine how the history of the world would be different if the arriving armies took a peaceful approach to the people they encountered. Think about how both sides would have been far more enriched if cooperation, rather than subjugation, had been the objective. But human beings don't seem to want to learn this lesson, and the remnants of that line of thinking live on in many people. In my opinion, the feeling of superiority is fake and forced, and comes about as a result of a deep-seated fear of being discovered to be inadequate in some way. The lie also lives on because there's safety in numbers. People who believe they are superior to others associate with other people who believe they are superior to others so that they can mask their inadequacy in a larger pool of people. I will say this. I believe that each living thing is a conscious being who encapsulates for a short period of time the energy that has existed since the beginning of time. And when your bodily form passes away, the energy that was stored is released back into the universe and rejoins the vast pool of energy that has existed since the beginning of time. Now, that energy may reform into someone else or some other form of being. No one can ever really know. But it conclusively eliminates the possibility of superiority. We are all equal because we are all made from the same energy, and we all deserve the same consideration and love. And when you conduct yourself with this philosophy in mind, you contribute to the advancement of mankind. The third lie I'm going to cover today is I don't have to apologize. I never need to say I'm sorry. Sometimes it's also expressed as in a statement like, I don't need to explain myself to you. Well, the simple fact of the matter is that you do. Are you a mature, evolved human being, or are you still an emotional child hiding behind some weak defenses? Now, sometimes saying I don't have to apologize can be a temporary lie. Because if you are a mature, evolved human being, you obviously are still flawed in some ways, because nobody's perfect. So what might happen is at first, you might feel that you don't have to apologize. But given a few hours of thought, or maybe even a few minutes of thought, you may realize, yeah, there is some area here in which I was at fault and I need to apologize for it. The degree of your maturity or your evolution may determine how long that period lasts. In other words, as you become more mature, it may not take you as long to realize when you need to apologize, even if you first refused to do so. Now, sometimes you may feel that you don't need to apologize because the other person was just as wrong as you were. If you're having a heated argument with somebody and you walk away after insulting each other, then there may be equal fault. And you may feel like you don't have to apologize because that person just insulted me. Well, there's a very good chance that you have insulted them. And the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to be the leader here, or do you want to be the follower? The leader is the one who goes up and apologizes first, and the follower is the one who walks away and never tries to reconcile the situation. The bottom line is that if you have wronged somebody or hurt someone in some way, you need to apologize. And if you don't feel that you have to apologize, then you may be telling yourself the previous lie, which is that you believe you're better than somebody else. And we have already exposed that as false. Now, the fourth and final lie I'm going to cover today, and probably the most important, is that I can't show weakness. I always have to be strong. This is an egregious and very harmful lie that many people tell themselves, and I told myself for a very long time, and it led to my downfall. No matter how hard you try, as I have said, you are still a human being, you have flaws, and you have weaknesses. And if you're alone, maybe the only person you can choose to reveal the weakness to is yourself. Or maybe you seek professional help to deal with the weakness that you perceive within yourself. If you're in a relationship and you feel like you have to be strong, or you're in a job situation where you feel like you can never show weakness, that you always have to be strong, the pressure that the reluctance to show weakness puts upon you can be very, very strong and eventually will show itself. And the longer that feeling, that reluctance to show the weakness is suppressed, the greater the force it will exert to be revealed. And the revelation could come at a very unwelcome time. The bottom line is that it's okay to show weakness, whether you are a man or a woman. And if you are going to grow as a person, and if you're going to achieve any sort of internal control of your emotions, which should be the goal of every evolved person, then being able to demonstrate your weakness to either a professional or a personal acquaintance is a strength. Because getting it out there in the open is the only way to deal with it and process it and own it and resolve it and then turn it into a strength. The more fear that you place around the revelation of your weakness, the greater that weakness becomes ingrained inside of you. And it is, of course, your ego that's always telling you that you have to remain exactly in place, exactly as you are, which makes your ego your greatest enemy. And the first step in separating yourself from your ego is creating space in your mind to see the ego as apart from you, not as an integral part of you. And once you create that space and separate yourself from your ego, then you are able to deal with the conflicting emotions that you may feel surrounding whatever weakness you have perceived within yourself. But dealing with it and processing it is a necessary step in your personal evolution and your internal control, no matter how painful it may seem. Now, I've got a man on my men's team, and one of his favorite acronyms is actually FEAR, F-E-A-R, which stands for Future Event Appearing Real. And this is the main thing that holds people back. Their fear grips them. And if you are afraid to look at yourself and afraid that the revolution of your weakness may cause people to change the way they think about you or maybe not hold you in such high esteem, and if those are the kind of people that you surround yourself with, then you're among the wrong people. And you need to find people who will respect and support you and help you work through the weakness and turn it into a strength. I have seen this happen on the men's team that I'm a part of, and it's a beautiful thing. Weakness is humanity. All of the athletes that you've seen in the past 4 or 5 years who come out and talk about mental health have brought this issue to a higher level of examination. And of course, there are some people out there who will tell them to keep their mouths shut. But I welcome that discussion because I've been in their place. I've had serious mental illness, and at some point I had felt like I lost my mind. And that's not a euphemism. That's a statement of fact. I was out of my mind, and I fell as low as I could fall, and I needed somebody to talk to and support me, and I had no one. And it was not a pretty sight. And the result was not something I'm proud of. But I learned the hard way that having someone there to talk to about what's bothering you is not a sign of weakness. It is a strength, because it shows that you have the courage to face this fear within yourself and resolve it and move on without the fear of the revelation gripping you. And then you release the energy that you had all locked up inside of you, surrounding that fear, and now you can direct it towards a higher purpose. And then you become someone you're proud of instead of someone you're ashamed of. And that is a noble purpose. And that allows you to contribute more to the ultimate advancement of society, which should be your ultimate goal anyway. And if you're listening to this video and you discover some of these lies within yourself, then try to have an honest conversation with yourself. And if it so happens that you know of someone that you care about who exhibits some of these lies, and you've seen their reluctance to deal honestly with themselves, then give them a gentle little poke, maybe piss them off a little. Sometimes all you need to do is crack that dam and then let it all flow. You may do them a tremendous favor by being there and showing them that you'll be the rock they can lie upon while they expose their own weaknesses and deal with their own lies and then let their fear dissipate. I thank you for listening, and I hope everyone gets something good out of this video and that everybody enjoys this day and lives their life in a state of peace, love, and prosperity.